good, everybody? It's Trimzby Cartier, and today I'm doing a medium fade wavelength on top. So the first thing you want to do with this haircut is comb the hair or brush it to see where the hair flows, so that it'll make it easier for your clippers to run through the hair. So he actually wanted it wavelength on top. So what I did was start with the clipper open with the one guard, because he said that he wanted it wavelength. So one person's wavelength is different from somebody else's wavelength. So to be on the safe side, I started with that thing open, which made it a 1.5. We actually wanted to go shorter, so I closed the clipper, and now it is at a 1. Okay. So to be on the safe side, you always want to start with a larger guard. You can always, take hair off little by little, but if you take off too much, there's no going back. So with that being said, if you're not sure with the length that you want to go down to, always use a guard side up. So that's a good tip for anybody to use. So I'm going with the grain, making sure that I'm being careful, taking my time. This video is sped up, so I am moving at a moderate pace because I don't want to make any mistakes. So to start with my first guideline, I start with the clipper closed, and I'm making the guideline as neat as possible, going over all those areas to clear my path for my next step. So after that, I'm gonna take my trimmers and clean the bottom off. Making sure that I'm taking my time and getting all the hair off during this time, because I don't want to have to come back and do this again later on. So I'm trying to get as much done as I can while I have a certain tool in my hand, so that I don't have to keep picking it up too much. So I'm trying to use it while I have it in my hand. Keep in mind, you should take your time during this process, because those trimmers are sharp, so there's zero gap. So I try to make sure that I'm making the client feel comfortable. So next, I get my clipper with the guard, with the clipper all the way open, I'm going from one side to the other side. This actually saves me time. So what I'm gonna do next is close the clipper halfway and move up halfway. Making sure that I'm getting as much of the hair off as possible. Staying consistent. So next, I close the clipper a little more, and I'm attacking that bottom line. Since I started with the clipper all the way closed, the notch right before being closed should get that line out very easily. That's why I start with the clipper closed, because it gets that bottom line out every time. So what I'm doing here, when I move up a little bit, I'm right before it's all the way open, and I'm getting that little space in between. So making sure that I'm cleaning this fade as much as possible, so that I won't have to come back and do this later. So I'm trying to use my time wisely. So now I have my one guard closed and I'm starting my next guideline. I know a lot of barbers don't do this, but this is something that works for me. So if you want to try it, you can, but it's an easier way to fade for me, because all I'm doing is making room for my half guard. So with my half guard, I actually open it halfway and attack the line that I created. And see, I'm not using the entire blade. I'm actually using maybe half of the blade. It may look like I'm using the whole blade, but I'm actually not. So now at this point, I have the blade closed and I'm just trying to erase the line that I created earlier. I'm taking my time. I'm actually flicking with the clipper in my hand. I'm not digging or pushing my fade up too high. So now I get my one guard and I open it all the way, and at this point I'm still fading a little bit. Some people consider this debulking, but I'm trying to knock any line that I see out, any dark spots. Trying to get the side to fade into the top as much as possible, because mind you, with this one guard all the way open, it should fade right into that one guard closed. So here I'm just making sure that I'm cutting down any hair. It's preventing the fade to look proper. Even though the video is sped up, I am taking my time. So now to go the extra mile, I'm gonna take the 2 guard and I'm gonna debulk. And see, I really don't have to do this, but sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, depending on the hair type. But for every haircut that I do, I always make sure that I'm taking the extra step to fulfill a decent fade. And later on, I am gonna come back to clean up any other areas that I may see. So now I'm cleaning up the top, getting those, extra hairs that are sticking up, because I'm actually prepping for my lineup. So to prep for the lineup, I normally use shaving cream to clean the skin a little bit. I noticed that using the shaving cream, it helps to create a sharper line. It leaves that little ash. And then I get a warm towel and I massage the area that I'm gonna line up. See, doing services like this actually brings more value to you as the barber, because you're giving the client an experience that they never had before. So things like this will make them want to come back to you. because they feel like you're doing something special. So I also clean the client off as well, because you always want to have a clean canvas to work on. And little things like this always will add value to you as the barber. So keep that in mind. So I'm adding some spritz. I actually sprayed some on a cotton swab, because when you spray it, you leave a lot of buildup, and that'll be something that you'll have to clean up later. So I try to use less product is better for you in certain instances. So I try not to use as much product, because the more product you use, the more you'll have to clean up later, and you always want to save yourself some time. So I'm brushing the hair down, trying to get it to stay in place. And as the spritz are drying, I'm gonna do some cleanup. Get any dark spots that I see, any flaws, anything that I could try to clean up to make the fade look a little better. Sometimes you don't see any flaws until you know, not looking at a space for a long time. So here on the lineup, I start in the middle and then I move over to the side. And the reason why I do this is because it's simpler for me. So to achieve a straight line, I don't go all the way from one side all the way to the other side. I just start in the middle, clean one side up, and then when I line up the other side, I try to mimic the side that I finished first. I wouldn't recommend going from one side to the other. I would always recommend starting in the center. See, I'm not pressing on the skin. I'm not causing any discomfort to the client. I'm just tapping and going. Making sure that I'm trying to be as symmetrical as possible. So now with the razor, I'm enhancing the lineup that I just created. So a big tip with the razor is, with one hand you pull the skin, in the opposite direction you move the blade. I'm using short strokes during this process. And I'm making sure that wherever one hand pulls, the other hand is moving in the other direction. I'm not pressing down, not causing any discomfort, making sure that the blade glides along the skin. So I saw some hairs hanging over on the lineup, so I decided to take my shears and clean that area up. So at this point, I'm pretty much finished with the cut. So just to be sure that the front lineup is A1, I'm going back over it the second time to make sure it's symmetrical and sharp. And that's something you always want to do, double check your work. I understand some barbers want to be fast and proficient, but you also need to make sure that you double check behind yourself. You don't want to have someone to leave the shop with a crooked lineup. And that's it. That's all she wrote. You fatty. So if you like the content, like, share, subscribe, and thank you for stopping by the channel.